The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Catch up with us on Business Brief. Asian shares are mostly lower this Wednesday as Wall Street's 8-day winning streak comes to an end. And investor sentiment cools after gold prices surge past $4,000 an ounce for the first time. China's Shanghai Composite is closed while South Korea's Kospi trades in positive territory. The rest of the region's major indexes are in the red. On currencies, the US dollar is flat against the Hong Kong dollar and weakens slightly against the Thai baht and gains ground against other Asian currencies. The Australian dollar, meanwhile, slips against the greenback. In commodities, gold climbs more than 1%, while oil prices continue to edge higher. In crypto, Bitcoin adds 0.1%, while Ethereum slips just over 1%. The Bureau of Internal Revenue filed $7.1 billion in criminal tax charges against controversial government contractors Curly and Sara Discaya. In its multiple tax evasion cases submitted to the Justice Department, the BIR noted that from 2018 to 2021, the couple failed to pay billions of pesos in income taxes. Their tax liability includes unpaid individual income taxes, excise taxes on 9 luxury vehicles, and documentary stamp taxes linked to their alleged divestment from 4 Discaya-owned construction firms. Investors in the Philippine stock market lose an estimated 1.7 trillion pesos in just 3 weeks amid allegations of corruption in the government's flood control projects. SEC Chair Francis Lim tells financial executives that the flood control scandal is shaking public confidence and weighs on the country's growth prospects. In his speech at the annual conference of the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines, Lim describes corruption as a weapon of mass wealth destruction. He adds that when trust breaks down, capital dries up, and everyone, including the government, businesses, and the public, pays the price. The Budget Department pushes for strict enforcement of the lifetime blacklisting clause under the new Government Procurement Act. The rule permanently bars erring contractors, suppliers, and consultants from doing business with the government. Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman made the call as the government intensifies its investigation into multi-billion peso flood control projects marred by anomalies, including collusion between officials and private contractors. She says the new rule targets entities with serious or repeated violations of procurement laws. The Independent Commission for Infrastructure requests immigration lookout bulletin orders against more than 24 current and former lawmakers and officials. The request was sent to the Justice Department. It aims to notify the authorities if these individuals leave the country. The list includes former Senator Bong Revilla, Senators Francis Cheese Escudero and Jinggoy Estrada, as well as Makati Mayor Nancy Binay and Representative Roman Romulo. All of them have been implicated in the flood control scandal. The commission has also summoned former House Speaker Martin Romualdez and former Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico to testify on questioned project funds. Former BIR Commissioner Kim Henares says the Philippines' heavy reliance on debt threatens the government's social programs and infrastructure projects. On BNC's Business 360, Henares pointed out that foreign direct investment has failed to pick up significantly, a sign of deeper economic issues.
Our foreign direct investment compared to other countries is not doing well. No? We have always been perennially expecting that investment will be diverted to us. No? We don't have foreign investment. Most probably also our domestic enterprise would not really invest into business also, therefore lowering also employment opportunities. So it's a chain reaction.
Amid the flood control scandal, Henares blames a culture that values wealth over public service. She warns that even strong laws are useless if those in power lack integrity. She calls on all Filipinos to accept small inconveniences and do their part in the fight against corruption. The country's jobless rate dropped in August as the labor market recovered from a string of weather disturbances in July. Paolo Barcelon joins us on the line for the details. Hi, Paolo. What caused this uptick on numbers, and what are we expecting in the coming months?
Well, the Philippine Statistics Authority says unemployment fell to 3.9% in August. That's equivalent to about 2.03 million Filipinos without work. That's down from 2.59 million in July and also lower than last year's figures. National statistician Dennis Mapa attributes this to a rebound in sectors hit by July storms, including agriculture, retail, construction, and services, which reopened job opportunities and helped lift employment to over 50 million workers nationwide.
Ang nakita namin na yung bawas doon sa July, which ang pinakamalaki agriculture, retail trade, and construction, bumalik sila ngayon, no?
But MAPA adds these numbers may fall down in September also due to the effects of weather and other natural disasters.
While there is a substantial portion of our labor market na kumbaga parang protected sila sa mga ganitong sakuna, pero mayroon tayong portion talaga, particularly sa agri, yung retail sale component. Malaki kasi itong retail sale, so may component tayo dyan na medyo they are may dependency sa weather conditions.
Economic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan welcomed the gains, saying that government is focusing on creating quality jobs and making vulnerable sectors more resilient through better logistics, digitalization, and climate-ready infrastructure. Underemployment also improved, dropping to 10.7% or 5.38 million Filipinos seeking more work hours, the lowest level in months. Balisacan says the next step is to equip younger Filipinos with better skills to help them transition more easily into the workforce. Mai.
Thank you for that report, Paolo Barcelon. Civil society groups turn up the heat on Congress, slamming the House version of the 2026 budget for allegedly containing at least $230 billion in pork barrel and patronage-based projects, despite promises of a cleaner, more transparent process. In an open letter, the groups called for a full rewrite of the budget and the redirection of funds to social protection, health, and sustainable transport. They also urged Congress to restore the $50 billion cut from the 4Ps program last year. Signatories include the People's Budget Coalition, PH Budget Watch, and former Senator Franklin Drilon. Most of the groups were granted observer status by the House for the 2026 budget process. Public demand is growing for transparency, accountability, and the shift toward programs that deliver tangible benefits to Filipinos. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. signs 8 petroleum service contracts representing a potential investment commitment of about $207 million over a 7-year exploration period. The awarded contracts cover explorations in the Sulu Sea, Cagayan, Cebu, Palawan, and Central Luzon. The service contractors can now begin their respective work programs. These include geological and geophysical studies, as well as seismic surveys and drilling activities. Energy Secretary Sharon Garin says the contracts are proof of the government's determination to secure new energy sources. We're taking a short break. More stories are coming up next. You're watching Business Brief. We're back on Business Brief. Han Si, chair of SM Prime Holdings, is named MAP Management Person of the Year. He is recognized for his visionary leadership, integrity, and commitment to sustainable development, making SM Prime a benchmark for resilient urban growth. Si promotes people-centered leadership, diversity, and employee welfare while supporting education, athletics, and care for vulnerable children. He also represents the Philippines in global disaster risk reduction initiatives. He founded Arise Philippines to integrate resilience into business strategies. The Securities and Exchange Commission plans to roll out a unified lending identification system to make credit access easier and curb abusive lending practices. From January to mid-September, the SEC received over 5,400 complaints, two-thirds of which involved harassment from unregistered online lenders. Commissioner Rogelio Quevedo says the SEC lacks police power and relies on law enforcement to act against these illegal platforms. Once the new system is in place, the SEC plans to lift its moratorium on online lending platforms. A unified system could also boost trust in digital finance and support the push for financial inclusion. Thousands of Filipinos die or get injured on our roads every year, and talking about it isn't enough anymore. Now, global and local road safety champions are joining forces to turn words into action, because safer roads start with serious solutions. Our mobility correspondent, G. Baroga, reports.
The Federación Internacional del Automóvil, or FIA, recently visited the Philippines, but they weren't just here for meetings. They came with a mission to help make our roads safer, not just for drivers but for everyone who shares the road. At the center of the effort is FIA Secretary General Willem Grunewald, who joined forces with local auto group Automobile Association Philippines, or AAP. Together with local leaders and transport advocates, they're pushing for one thing: real, practical solutions to keep Filipinos safe on the road. Gridlock and congestion are part of our everyday reality, but as the FIA points out, we're not alone. Cities around the world are grappling with the same issues, especially as they grow and urbanize. That's why smart city and transport planning matters. It's not just about fixing traffic, it's about making it easier and safer for people to get where they need to go every day.
Within the Philippines, we are going to be launching the Safe for All for Life program, which is a grassroots road safety program in conjunction with UNITA, where we will be providing training and education via our local club.
To track our progress, the FIA uses a road safety index, which looks at how drivers behave and how aware they are behind the wheel. It uses a star rating system to help identify what needs improving and where.
What we'll also be launching into the future is a digital application at a consumer level that would measure truck driver behavior, and as well as record and measure sustainability practices, or rather sustainability behaviors in terms of the way consumers drive.
According to AAP President Joe Ferreira, after years of conversations around road safety, what's needed now is implementation, not more talk.
It's frustrating when you just keep on talking and talking about something, but there's no ground-level program that is running. Driver education, making the kids who are traveling from school to their homes safe. Importante yun eh. So we should not only talk about it, but do something about it.
One of the actions they're pushing is stricter helmet testing for motorcycles. The first step is reviewing the quality of helmets available today. The goal is to build a local factory that can produce helmets that are both safe and affordable. Motorcycles were involved in over 15,000 road crashes last year, the second highest among all vehicle types. It's a tough stat, but one that adds urgency to improving helmet safety standards.
Road safety is a shared responsibility. That's why the auto clubs are encouraging everyone to be aware and to help pave the way for building a community that is safe for all. For BNC Mobility, G. Baroga.
5 Filipino corporate leaders make it to Fortune magazine's list of the 100 most powerful women in Asia. Leading the pack is Mint President and CEO Martha Sazon at number 37. She oversees GCash and its upcoming $1.5 billion IPO. Also on the list are Ayala Land CEO Ana Maria Margarita D. at rank 69, Land Bank CEO Lynette Ortiz at 72, Megaworld President Lourdes Gutierrez Alfonso at 92, and Union Bank CEO Ana Maria Aboitiz Delgado at 94. They were recognized for driving growth in real estate, finance, and tech despite global uncertainty. DBS Group CEO Tan Su Shan topped the list, the first woman to lead the Singapore-based banking giant. Fortune scored the women based on business performance, innovation, influence, and impact. The rankings highlight the Philippines' deep bench of female executives and how women leaders continue to shape corporate strategy, capital markets, and the region's economic momentum. We're taking another breather. A look at how Philippine shares did today when we return. Stay tuned. You're back on Business Brief. Flights are facing delays across the United States for a second straight day as air traffic control staffing issues persist amid the government shutdown now on its 7th day. The FAA says numerous airports, including those in Newark, Phoenix, Denver, Las Vegas, and Burbank, are impacted. FlightAware reports more than 4,000 delays on Monday, with Denver experiencing 29% of arriving flights delayed. The shutdown leaves about 13,000 controllers and 50,000 TSA officers working without pay. Swedish activist Greta Thunberg lashed out at governments for failing to address the dire situation of Palestinians in Gaza. She arrived in Athens days after being deported by Israel, along with hundreds of other activists who attempted to bring aid to the enclave. While some activists claimed mistreatment during detention, including being denied food, water, and medication, Israel maintains that all legal rights were upheld.
What we aim to do with the global civil flotilla was to step up when our governments fail to do their legal obligation. Our governments are talking about ensuring human rights and the importance of getting humanitarian aid into Gaza while failing to do their part and while failing to even the bare minimum ensuring safety for this mission.
Shares of Bilyonaryo Manny V. Pangilinan's PXP Energy soar nearly 39% after President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. signed new oil exploration deals. PXP Energy is part of the consortium that will conduct exploration in the southern Sulu Sea. The president greenlit 8 petroleum service contracts to boost domestic oil and gas exploration. Philippine shares end in positive territory for the second straight day after the unemployment rate drops to 3.9%. The PSEI rises 0.2% to close at 60.98, making it the 5th best performer in Asia. Majority of the sectoral indices are in the green, with mining and oil rising the most at almost 5%. Advancers outnumber decliners 94-92, with value turnover reaching 6.4 billion pesos. Majority of the day's most active stocks are in the green, with Philex rising the most at over 12%. On currencies, the peso trades at 58.13 against the US dollar, down from the previous close of 58.10. That's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you the stories that help you plan your next big, bold moves in business. Only here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. See you then.